and when you should break out that umbrella. And could we be seeing snow again soon? We're bringing you the first alert for some extreme cold and the possibility of winter weather as we start the beginning of a new week.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt with you this evening, and we do have the weather extra on another blast of really cold weather coming up here for next week. It's chilly out there tonight. We're down to 42 degrees right now on Red Mountain. But let's talk first off about the next big thing. And we do have a first alert for freezing conditions tonight. Those low temperatures taking a tumble down into the 20s across the area in many spots. 25 around Coleman here in Hamilton and Hackleburg, over towards Bear Creek around 27. Even seeing some 20s on the map down into parts of Chilton County, maybe around West Blockton, over towards Woodstock. Tuscaloosa showing 31 in the morning. We'll do this again early on Thursday. So the next few mornings, again, still seeing those freezing conditions out there. So if you need to maybe cover those faucets or leave the pool running in this cold, freezing weather, don't forget to do so with the temperatures dropping down into the freezing range. As we look ahead towards the weekend, Friday into Saturday, we have some rain coming back, and it will be warm enough to support rain. But I want to take this on into the Friday, Saturday time frame, and here it comes. This is Friday night. Latest data showing an overnight rain impact here in the early Saturday morning. No severe weather expected out of this, but it does look like a soggy start to our Saturday. So making plans for the weekend, I would say Saturday morning, the chance for more wet weather and trending drier during the afternoon. But the big question, are we going to see any more snow in the forecast? I'm seeing a lot of folks asking me on my Facebook page about next week. We are seeing another significant blast of Arctic air across the country. This will start to drop across the nation Sunday and Monday and next week. We're going to get a taste of it. Lows back in the teens as that frigid air arrives on Monday. Perhaps some single-digit wind chill values. And then by Tuesday, could some moisture start to overrun the state again? If it did, we know the cold air is going to be in place. That would lead to the possibility of some snow or some wintry mix into Tuesday, and that may actually last into Wednesday of next week. Again, some data showing that possibility. There's a lot of questions, but as we take a close look at the forecast, Matt's going to have more here coming up in a few moments and showing you some of the forecast data and why we think that those chances and those signals are greater based on today's data. But new today, the state of emergency that was put into place due to last week's winter storm, that has now ended. It covered 37 counties across the state of Alabama. But of course, this comes on the heels of that next possibility for some wintry precipitation as we head into the start of a new week. Meteorologist Matt Daniel, he has the latest on these newest ensemble model runs and brings a recap on how we forecast winter weather.
Well, as you know, we're hearing a lot of chatter about the chance to see some snow or some type of winter storm next week. So once again, I want to break down how we're forecasting it. When you're within 6 to 8 days is where we're at right now. We're simply paying attention. We want to observe the patterns for the potential to see winter weather. Then as we get to about 4 to 5 days, so if this event's happening next Tuesday and Wednesday, by Thursday or Friday of this week, we're going to be looking for consistency. Are we confident with what's going to happen? Does the setup itself make sense? And then when you get to 2 to 3 days, that's when we start really ramping up and preparing that forecast, trying to get an idea. Is it just a snow event? Is it a mixture of snow and sleet? Could it just be an ice storm? And then we have to figure out the timing, the location, and how much precip could be falling. And then by 0 to 1 days, within 24 hours, so to speak, we have to identify those specifics, exact timing, location, and the overall threat impact. So we still have days away to really fine tune it, so we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. But one way for us as meteorologists to sort of get a better handle of the setup is what we look at is called ensemble, the ensemble approach. Now, when you see us on TV showing you a particular weather model, it's deterministic. It's one run that comes out every 6 hours or so. The ensemble shows several different models, and in this instance it's showing about 20 particular models in one run. And what I like to do is look at consistency. Which one is showing snow and which one's not? Well, based off this particular ensemble that just got released earlier today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them aren't showing any snow. The rest are showing possibility. So what does that mean? 14 of 20 of those members are hinting at wintry weather, which means our confidence is increasing that we think there is a chance we could see some wintry weather across the southeast, but it's just way too early to determine how much and those impacts. And even looking at some of the other ensembles, some of them are showing parts of north and central Alabama having a percentage of seeing an inch or more snow right around 30 to 40%. So that percentage is inching up today, and we're just going to continue to watch those trends. And if we find out with more confidence that this is going to happen, of course, we will let you know here and, of course, through the WBRC First Alert weather app.
All right, great job there, Matt. And again, it's a possibility phase right now. Certainly that possibility is very much on the table at this time. But with more cold weather coming up, hopefully you have properly winterized already. But just some quick reminders here. Make sure, if you have the freezing temperatures coming, you have some pipes that are more prone to freezing. When we have those sub-freezing temperatures, may want to open the cabinets, may leave those faucets dripping. Make sure you have the faucet covers on. And also check on backup heat sources. Always a good plan this time of the year, and especially before that frigid air blasts in here early next week, which again, listen, it's going to be cold tonight, so plan for temperatures down into the 20s to start the day. Meteorologist Shente Rodriguez was also able to chat with Joseph Buff from Farmers Insurance in Chelsea, where they spoke about the process of insurance when it comes to driving during winter weather.
So we get a lot of questions regarding driving on inclement weather days. And I think for snow and winter weather days, it's really no different than any other inclement weather day. So if you're in a severe storm and you have to be on the road, we're pretty much going to cover that. I think the question becomes is when the roads are actually officially closed. I think as a consumer, you need to think about why you're on the road and could what you're doing be considered negligent. There might be some exclusions for negligence in your policy that you need to review. But, most of what we do in insurance, there's always a degree of something you could have done to, eliminate the risk. It's usually a mistake that a driver makes that causes the accident to begin with. So we typically are going to side on the side of the consumer with that, but there's certainly things you need to try to do, because making a decision like that causes an accident could affect you down the line with your carrier as far as your rates or acceptability.
In 30 seconds, we take you around the country to other notable weather events happening and what you can expect for your Wednesday. I'll see you after the break. And you are watching First Alert Weather Extra, down to 29 on average tonight. So an alert for freezing temperatures again early tomorrow morning. Otherwise, we will see those temperatures make a nice improvement during the day for our Wednesday. Looks like those afternoon highs will rise back into the 50s. Plenty of sunshine for tomorrow and not too windy out there. Looks like a light breeze out of the northeast early in the day, and that switches around to more of a northwest wind, but generally a northerly breeze at about 4 to 8 miles per hour. But coming up, we're going to take a closer look at the weekend, also looking ahead into next week. But speaking of winds, high winds initially forecast to threaten the fire zones in Southern California. They're lighter than expected for Tuesday, but that allowed tired but determined fire crews to continue their advance on several fronts. In the case of the two largest fires, both are still less than 40% contained 1 week into the nonstop battle. Maribel Gonzalez brings us more from Altadena as fire officials laid out their plan of attack going forward.
Everybody here urges you to remain alert as danger has not yet passed.
This as fire crews have gained a foothold on the multiple fronts Tuesday. As of midday, the Hearst fire was at 97% contained, the Eaton at 35%, and the Palisades at 17%. A fourth ignition, the Auto fire, started near Ventura Monday night. At last check, it had burned over 50 acres as fire crews work to contain it.
We have approximately 88,000 residents that are still under evacuation orders.
Two other critical issues: power outages and water access in the Eaton Fire area.
The necessary public safety power shutoffs are going to prevent our next fire from starting if we have down power lines. Additionally, we have checked the water system in the Eaton Fire area, and it is operational.
There was slightly hopeful news today from search and rescue efforts in burn zones.
The good news was that no other remains were found yesterday.
And talks of reopening neighborhoods to residents are moving forward slowly.
Repopulation conversations are absolutely active and ongoing. I don't want people to start thinking everything's okay now. Everything's not okay yet.
It's that yet that firefighters are battling to get closer to today.
Firefighters will continue to work tirelessly throughout the day to increase containment lines, prevent further spread, and address any flare-ups.
In Altadena, I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
And here to bring you that weather extra on why these winds are causing such a problem, especially for mountainous areas in Southern California, is meteorologist Megan Thomas.
Yesterday on Weather Extra, we talked about the devastating fires that are just blanketing portions of Southern California. Well, the wind has gusted upwards of 20, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour at times over the last week. It's gotten up to excess of 100 miles an hour. And even though the wind has backed down slightly this morning, we are still in critical fire danger. Specifically from Bakersfield, that's going to be north of Los Angeles being in the bullseye, and then all the way back down through extremely Southern California, San Diego. So you get very dry conditions coupled with really strong wind gusts, and it's a very critical fire risk. And all of that is extreme back up through the Palisades and outside of Malibu, California as well. So here is what is happening. You've got wind coming over the mountain. That's where the wind is cooler as it rises up the mountain. But as it goes down the mountain, you can get really strong winds coupled with that warm air. Really begins to amp up that fire risk. In addition to that, as air flows down the mountain, it is going to warm. It's called the downslope effect. So wind accelerates down the mountain and damaging winds are possible, coupled with that very dry air in place. In addition to that, extremely dry vegetation. Now remember, yesterday we talked about this as well. There's still an extreme drought in portions of Southern California. January is typically their second wettest month, and they just haven't seen the rain needed to help mitigate the fire. So just keep that in mind. As the wind comes down the mountain, it warms. It can also amplify in speed, and those two things coupled together just blankets the reason for the high fire danger in Southern California. We're hoping that they get some rain soon, much needed rain very soon.
And in Alaska, recovery efforts are in progress across Anchorage after a powerful windstorm on Sunday. The National Weather Service reporting winds of up to 129 miles per hour at the Sunburst Ridgetop Weather Station. These winds downed trees, knocked out power lines, leaving many in the dark. It's also the possible cause for the collapse of the Rabbit Creek pedestrian bridge. Several passenger jets, cargo planes, and military aircraft were also diverted due to these high winds. A lot of winds in the forecast out there, but we weren't the only ones to see winter weather over the past few days. Check out this footage out of Kentucky. The Bluegrass State and Lexington Fire Department visiting a frozen pond to safely simulate a rescue mission, which is something the department could get called for during the winter, of course. And Captain Ryan Hoxton with the Lexington Fire Department saying these wintry conditions are the best to get that hands-on training.
Because we do have ice, so we augmented our schedule to make sure that we could get this training in. And for the next 3 days, that's what our department in special operations will be doing. We'll be doing this type of training.
And the team also wore special training suits meant to keep them warm in the freezing water, of course. Some cold weather out there. But hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about those freezing conditions for your mornings this week. And we take you beyond the atmosphere. We'll be right back with more First Alert Weather Extra. Back into First Alert Weather Extra. Our weather headlines. First off, freezing tonight. We got some rain coming back Friday night and into Saturday. Possible First Alert weather days coming up next week. For not only the extreme cold, could we see another winter storm threat? It is something I am closely monitoring. I think that the possibility is on the table. We need to watch it closely. Tonight, no precipitation, but those temperatures will tumble into the low 30s and upper 20s. You can see 6 a.m. even showing as cold as 25 for places like Gadsden, Coleman early in the day. So freezing early on, some frost in the morning, maybe a quick scrape on the wind chill, a little frost on the car tops tomorrow morning, but by the afternoon you can see 50s, upper 40s. Couple nice days though here coming up, at least for this time of the year with this pattern that we're in. Take advantage of these sunny days with highs in the 50s. Notice Thursday morning freezing again, but the rest of the day Thursday, much like tomorrow, highs in the 50s with sunshine. But the dry weather actually hangs on through most of the day Friday. It's Friday night when the rain comes back and into the early morning hours on Saturday, and it looks like rain. Not seeing severe weather out of this. It looks like it's just going to be a soaking and cold and wet there early Saturday morning. So making plans Saturday. I think the afternoon will be drier, maybe a little breezy out there and turning cooler, but you can see most of this wet weather comes in during the morning. 2 o'clock, we're not seeing as much wet weather, maybe a leftover shower perhaps, but those rain chances will lessen. Still some clouds though, may stay kind of overcast there through most of the day on Saturday, and then Sunday is when that really cold air is going to start moving in. And just to jump ahead into next week, this is going to be that frigid air we've been tracking. You can see by next Monday and into Tuesday, these temperatures at night cooling off down into the teens. Look at Nashville there showing 10 degrees early Tuesday morning, and we're going to have wind chills down into the single-digit range. So hey, we know we got some cold air in place, right? Well, how about the chance for precipitation? Well, this was one of the runs of the GFS model today, and this also coming in line with the Canadian model, European model, a lot of different forecast models out there. We have several of those suggesting the possibility of a winter weather threat, perhaps around the 21st, 22nd time frame. So if there is a chance for any wintry precipitation in our long-range forecast, this is the time to watch, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on next week. This, just by comparison here, this is some of the brand new data that came in this afternoon, and you're going to get the latest data right here, so check in with us for the news during the evening. But that's the Euro model, and it's showing snow and a wintry mix. The GFS model run today, it backed off a little bit, but these models will go back and forth. As Matt showed earlier, clearly there's a trend more towards a system that could bring some wintry precipitation perhaps around Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But before we get there, a lot coming up here. Again, that chance for some wet weather, some wet roads out there early on Saturday, and then Sunday you can see the high of 42, only 31 there for the big holiday on Monday. Overnight lows down into the teens. So for some of us, or for a lot of us, I mean, we're going to stay below freezing there. And the last time I was talking to Matt, and you've got to go back to January 2024, last time we actually had an entire day where we stayed below freezing. So that possibility is coming up. But now we're headed for the stars. And speaking of Matt, he's going to take us beyond the atmosphere.
Well, last night you probably looked up into the night sky and went, oh, wow, that's a bright moon. Well, we had a full moon yesterday, and that full moon will continue as we go into tonight as well, and they call it the wolf moon. So the idea is when the winter months were happening, you had snow on the ground, you had a pack of wolves out there, and they'd be howling to the moon, so they just called it the wolf moon. So that's what it's called, and if you see it, that's what it is. And one cool thing about the wolf moon is the planet Mars. In fact, Mars is at opposition. It really happened yesterday, but over the next couple of nights, you'll be able to see Mars itself. Just look up, find the moon, and then you'll be able to see a bright dot. It's not going to be shining, it's just going to be a particular tone of color, and it's going to be the planet Mars. They call it the red planet, of course. And what does it mean when it says Mars at opposition? Well, you got the Earth, and it's between the Sun and Mars. So they say Mars is opposite the Sun in our skies. So if you see that, feel free to take a photo if you got a good camera and send it through the WBRC First Alert weather app. Beyond that, there's still a chance to see some other planets over the next couple of nights. In mid-January, we're talking about January 17th and the 18th. If you look southwest during the evening hours after sunset, you'll see two dots. You'll see the planet Saturn and Venus. And then as we go towards late January, towards the end of the month, you'll see that they're a little bit farther apart. But if you look towards the southwest in the evening hours, you'll see Saturn and Venus. So pretty cool to be looking up in the night sky. Hopefully we'll have some clear nights. I think we'll be able to view it over the next couple of nights thanks to the weather pattern that we're seeing for the next couple of days.
All right, we'll be right back with a final check on weather, and we'll take a look at some of those weather photos. See you after the break. To First Alert Weather Extra, and listen up, we had thousands, and I mean thousands, of snow photos and lots of weather photos, but also we've had a couple of full moon photos from last night. Pam Roberts sharing that picture of the full moon and the planet Mars last night, and the sky thankfully was clear for that. Sandra Martin sharing this sunrise in Pell City, looked like a little contrail, and you can see also where a plane cut through the clouds there over Sylacauga. Chris Bryant sharing that photo. James Roger, a majestic Alabama snow still on the ground today. How about that? You know, there's an old saying, if there's snow still on the ground after 3 days, it's going to snow again. Listen, it's a saying. I'm just putting that out there. And Sumiko Mason sharing this snowman of a leprechaun bear. So we okay, so we got a leprechaun bear, a snowman. But listen, I actually saw today coming in a couple of leftover snowmen from some of the yards, and got out there. I was able to get out with Landon, and we had some fun with whatever snow was left over going into the weekend. But listen, right now we are going to have those temperatures dropping down into the freezing range for tonight. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow. We're going to have some rain coming back. You can see Friday night and into the day on Saturday. Now next week we're watching Tuesday and Wednesday. Could we do it again? Could we see another chance for some snow and some wintry precipitation? That is the big question, and we're going to get that answer for you. We're working on the forecast updates. We'll have that tonight, first at 9, of course, also at 10 o'clock tonight. And if you haven't done so, it's just so important, you know, with this changing forecast, make sure you've downloaded our First Alert Weather app. It's free. Search WBRC in your app store. Have a wonderful evening. Stay warm out there. I'll see you tonight, first at 9. All right, here we go. Bell Media in 3, 2. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. More freezing temperatures tonight. I think we're going to see some more 20s out there tomorrow morning. By Friday night and Saturday, our next chance for rain, and then possible First Alert weather days coming up next week. We're not talking just extreme cold. We could see another winter weather threat, a system out there around Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So stay tuned on that forecast. But again, in the meantime, a first alert for some rain coming back by Saturday. No icy weather with that system. You can see we're up to 62 for a high temperature on Saturday. But again, by early next week, look at the high for the Martin Luther King holiday there on Monday, 31 degrees, overnight lows down into the teens. So some really cold weather coming up again for next week, another wintry blast. We're talking about it. Lots of updates, weather every 6 minutes starting today at 4 on WBRC Channel 6 News.